You know, this movie made me realize how fed up I am of the whole subgenre of white folk go to another country, fuck around with the culture, get cursed. I'm gonna start calling that the Logan Paul subgenre. Ghost House is directed by Rich Ragsdale. It stars Scout Taylor-Compton and James Landry Hebert, and it tells the story of an American couple who goes to Thailand and fuck around with the culture, and they get cursed. Sounds kind of generic, right? Well, it is and it isn't. This movie actually does a lot of things right, but unfortunately it gets dragged down by doing a lot of really cliched and standard things as well. And as a result, you know, gets dragged into a bunch of mundane horror tropes and cliches and all the usual bullshit. I went into this movie blind, so I really had no expectations, and there was a decent amount that was not bad, but the thing is that for each of the positives that this movie has, it also has a negative that takes away from it, so I'm just gonna dive right in. Like I said, this movie actually does a fair amount of things pretty well. Scout Taylor-Compton and James Landry Hebert both give really good performances. The visuals are actually pretty nice, and the overall setting of Thailand and the use of its culture are really what keeps this movie feeling fresh, despite the fact that the story is a standard possession flick about American tourists. The other thing that really surprised me is this film actually boasts some pretty decent scares, which is definitely more than I expected from a film called Ghost House. There are a lot of moments that really utilize the overall terrifying omnipresence of the spirit, and it really feels like a nice homage to quality Asian horror. But in turn, that really just makes me think that this film probably would have been better without all the white people. If this was an actual Thai horror film or something along the lines of Shudder, I think it could have actually been really excellent. Instead, it's dragged kicking and screaming back into the whole tired old American horror tropes that you've seen a million times. The problem with this movie is that yeah, the acting's good, but we're still stuck with typical American tourists. They're written as total assholes, and it's really hard to care about them. One of the first things we see in this movie is the main guy making out with a stripper one night after he gets engaged, and then we're supposed to care about these people and root for them? For me, though, the biggest issue with this film is just how painfully bland and standard it is. Sure, the story being framed in Thailand and using Thai culture is cool, but it's still an incredibly predictable basic story that you can really map out beat for beat if you have seen enough films. Especially considering this is the most standard possession film you could ever see. It's just kept fresh by its location and by the visuals that that location lends to it. For every well-crafted, creepy Asian horror-esque sequence, there's a shitty, loud, obnoxious American-style jump scare that follows it. And it all just comes across as so standard. I can't in good conscience call it bad because it has a lot about it is well done. It's well acted, it's very well shot, the overall scenery and style is nice, but it falls into so many typical generic pitfalls that the best you can say about the film is that in the end it's really generic. And that's a shame because there was potential in this film for it to actually be not awful. This movie reminds me a lot of a less awful version of The Other Side of the Door, but unfortunately it's just as forgettable as The Other Side of the Door. And I'm gonna say that Ghost House, regrettably, is meh. It's not the worst thing ever, it's not the best thing ever, it's really just kind of standard. I don't regret having watched it, although I will never really watch it again. I don't feel that I wasted my time, and there are definitely worse films I could have been watching, but this film was ultimately nothing special, and that's just a disappointment. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You can click down there and like and comment and subscribe, and I'll be back very soon with a review of Winchester. Oh boy, can't wait.
If you disturb the ghost house, she will come for you.